All right, hello everyone. I call to order our Board of Education for Wayzata Public Schools special meeting for March 23rd, 2020. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Absolutely. Linda Cohen,
Linda's here.
Sarah Johansson,
Here.
Bonita Lucky, here. Cheryl Poseen,
Here.
C.N. Falconer,
Here.
and Chris McCullough is absent, and Andrea King.
Here. Thanks everybody for working so hard to figure out the technology. On Friday, March 13th, Governor Walz issued an executive order 1021, which declared a peacetime state of emergency pursuant to his powers under Minnesota Statutes, Chapter 12, Emergency Management. This step allows school boards to meet by conference call or other electronic means under Minnesota Statutes 13D.021. So this special meeting will be held using Zoom. It is recorded and will be shared on the district website. Just a couple other logistical things before we get started. All votes will be taken using a roll call vote, and all board members will be given a chance to speak before each vote. If you have no questions or comments when I call your name, please just say pass. Also, please identify yourself before you give a motion or a second so we can keep track of that. A couple of other things. If you have background noise in your house, please mute yourself when you're not speaking, but if your house is quiet, you should be okay staying unmuted. And then the last thing is about the chat feature of Zoom. For today, while we practice, don't use your chat because that's part of the meeting that the public is able to see. Ashley may use it if she needs to give us some technical pointers during the meeting, and maybe as we get more practiced and find that chat would be useful to make us more efficient or effective, we might add that in, but just not today. So I think that's it. We can get started. First on our agenda, under administrative, we need to approve these teleconference meetings. Due to the declared health pandemic and the declared state of emergency and pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.021, until further notice, all school board meetings will be held by teleconference or other electronic means. So our recommended action is to approve the motion. Our recommended action is to approve to hold teleconference or electronic meetings until further notice. Is there a motion?
I so move. C.N. Falconer.
Thank you, Cian. Is there a second?
Linda seconds.
Second.
Thank you. We had Linda seconding. Thank you. All right, so now I'll go through and give everyone an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. Linda Cohen?
I pass.
Cian Falconer?
I pass.
Sarah Johansson?
I just want to say thank you to Ashley and to Andrea and Andrew and everyone who's working us through this process.
Thanks, Sarah. Chris McCullough is absent. Cheryl Poseen?
I echo the thanks, and that's all for now.
Bonita Lucky?
Pass.
This is a private meeting.
Andrea Keen? I also would like to thank Ashley and Chase and everyone who helped to teach us how to use the technology. All right. Hearing no other discussion, the recommended action is to approve the motion to hold teleconference or electronic meetings until further notice. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Cheryl Poseen,
Yes.
C.N. Falconer,
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry, I forgot.
Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky, yes. Chris McCullough is absent, and Andrea King.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. All right, thanks everyone. Our first digital vote. Good job, everybody. Okay, moving on in our agenda. Next we have finance and business. First we've got bid award approval. And I could hand it off to Jim Westrom to make a couple of comments.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, members of the board. Jim Westrom, Executive Director of Finance and Business. This evening, I have two items for the board's consideration where we are requesting approval. The first item is a bid opening for Sunset Hill Elementary School and East Middle School 2020 site safety improvements. That the bid opening was held at the administrative building on March 5th. The scope of the project includes relocating the baseball field, installing a bus loop, and other improvements to the Sunset Hill Elementary School site. This project also includes updating the fire lane access and adjacent site improvements at East Middle School. Attached are the lowest responsible bidders and their base bid amount for purposes of contract award. The project is funded from the 2018 bond and long-term facilities maintenance. And please see the attached bid tabulation and recommendation from Cross Anderson Construction Company. And the recommended action is before you.
Thank you, Mr. Westrom. The recommended action is to award the Sunset Hill Elementary School and East Middle School 2020 site safety improvements to the attached list for the base total bids in the amount of $1,784,504.90. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move.
This
Cheryl
is
Posey.
Sarah. I so move.
This is CN. I second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Linda Cohen,
I pass.
Cian Falconer,
I pass.
Sarah Johansson,
I pass.
Chris McCullough, Cheryl Polzine.
I have a question about the baseball field. It says that it's being relocated. Could you clarify, is it just being modified or are they completely moving that?
Madam Chair, Director Polzine, the question regarding the baseball field will actually be slightly relocated and will be slightly changed in position to accommodate the new entrance that will be off of Sunset Trail. So it will still be functional. We've worked closely with Cities Park and Rec, and I think you'll be pleased with the outcome. I may also add another remark. The question came up during the day from board members or a board member about some of the work being done at East Middle School. And I'll just remind the board that most of the bond referendum work at East Middle School was completed this last summer. We do need to complete a fire lane that's included in this bid. And then we have a 3-year plan to replace the air handling units over at East Middle School. And this will be the second summer. Next summer, 2021, will be the final summer, and that will be paid out of long-term facility maintenance revenue. So with that, that's my response. Jim Westrom.
Thank you.
All right, Bonita Lucky.
Yes.
All right, and I have no further questions or comments. So hearing none, the recommended action is to award the Sunset Hill Elementary School and East Middle School 2020 site safety improvements to the attached list for the base total bids in the amount of $1,784,504.90. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Cheryl Posine,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky, yes. Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Cian Falconer,
Yes.
Chris McCullough is absent, Andrea King.
Yes, and the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we have another item under Finance and Business, Joint Powers Agreement. I'll turn it back over to Jim Westrom.
Yes, Jim Westrom, Executive Director of Finance and Business. The second item, Madam Chair and members of the school board, is presented for your consideration. And it is the school district and the city of Plymouth wish to provide for the improvement of the Peony Lane and Schmidt Lake Road intersection, as well as access to the Wayzata High School campus. Minnesota Statute 471.59 provides the legal authority for two governmental entities to enter into a joint powers agreement. And what that does is that allows one of us to go out for bid and the other one to actually be a participant in that bidding process. So basically, we're cooperatively bidding contract for services. and improvements. The agreement enclosed for your review will specify the respective obligations and responsibilities in the construction and financing of the project in accordance with the Joint Powers Agreement. I would like to just point out that the Joint Powers Agreement that's included in your packet is still in a draft format. We began reviewing this 2 weeks ago with legal counsel, and due to the fact of some recent events that have occurred, we're not sure what the bidding environment is going to be like. So I did express to the City of Plymouth that I'm asking the board to give me the authority to enter into the agreement instead of presenting to the school board a completed agreement today. We want to make sure that we take out all risk, and I'll make a few more remarks during the discussion. So the facility committee of the board met with the mayor and some council members and staff from the city, and we believe that the plan met the objectives of the school district as well as the city to provide a safer environment for visitors and students. So how are we financing these improvements? The district will use a combination of a portion of the 2014 bond referendum proceeds that were designated for access to the high school. And we also, on an annual basis, appropriate certain dollars for city assessments for curb and gutter. And then finally, we'll make those payments in a 13-month period that for us is spread over 3 fiscal years. If we make the first payment by June 30th of this year, we make the first payment or second payment in July, we've actually crossed fiscal years, and the cost has been spread across 2 fiscal years. And then we'll make the final settle-out payment in the 2021-22 fiscal year. So we believe that this is economically advisable. We believe that this is going to achieve our objectives. The one thing that we're not so certain about is what kind of bidding environment we're going to have. So that's one of the reasons why I've asked the board to authorize me to enter into the agreement. The City of Plymouth and their legal counsel and our legal counsel will continue to determine the most equitable way to wrap up the language for any contingencies. So maybe I'll let you make a remark about the recommended action, and then we'll talk about a few of the questions that came up today from board members.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Westrom. The recommended action is to authorize the Executive Director of Finance and Business to execute a joint powers agreement with the City of Plymouth for making Peony Lane and Schmidt Lake Road intersection improvements. Is there a motion to approve?
I so move. This is Sarah.
Cheryl Polzine, I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion?
This is Cian. I have a question. At some point, I thought I saw a total possible exposure dollar amount. Could you remind us again, Jim, what this thing could possibly cost, the high end, what you're thinking?
Yes, Madam Chair, Director Falconer. Actually, I think what we're looking at is our preliminary estimate is that it should be about $750,000 should be the total cost. During our conversations, we agreed to go 50-50. Just a reminder that the city has the authority to basically assess adjacent property owners, and we are the only property owner that is adjacent to this intersection. We discussed the matter with the City of Plymouth and indicated that a joint powers agreement might be a better option for the school district so that we could have a greater input. So we're looking at $750,000 at this point as being the max. However, there is a chance with the current bidding environment that we may find that there may not be as much interest, or maybe there'll be more interest. Maybe it'll be more competitive depending on what happens with the current environment that we're in, or we may not get any bidders. So at this point, we want to make sure that we have the appropriate contingency language, and that's one of the reasons why the document is still under consideration with the district's legal counsel. Is that helpful?
Yes, Thank you. So our share would be 50% of $750,000, potentially.
Potentially, which would be $375,000, split over 3 fiscal years of $125,000 each fiscal year.
Great. Do we get to rename the intersection? Do we get any naming rights or something?
I
No.
don't know that I can respond to that.
All right, Sarah Johansson.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to Jim and also really to the city of Plymouth and to Chase for their leadership. There was, when we met with them, there was, some discussion about the use of dollars. And I feel like the city council acknowledged that where they joined the district and feeling like this is really important, especially given the events of, the last years, that this is a really, really important safety improvement, that we know that school district money has the potential to come away from textbooks. And so the city's ability to be flexible, to find ways that the district can pay using different funding streams so that we're not necessarily competing with textbooks. And then Chase and Jim, your leadership in saying, you know what, this is a really important investment for us, and let's try to get this done as soon as possible for students. So thanks all to that.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion from Linda Cohen?
No, thank you.
Cheryl Polzine?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Jim, could you please give us a breakdown? How much of that is from the bond referendum and how much of that money comes from our annual capital? You said it was the operating capital?
Madam Chair and Director Polzine, actually the $375,000, we wanted to make sure we use the most restrictive dollars first. And so the most restrictive dollars actually come from the 2014 bond referendum. You probably recall that we wanted to actually, in our review and comment, create another entrance or exit from the Wayzata High School campus. And at one point we were looking at a third, so which could have potentially exited through the city of Medina out to 101, kind of where our newest school is, Northwoods. Those are the dollars that are still remaining. And so we are evaluating whether we should use those dollars first, or on an annual basis, we set aside $125,000 for curb and road assessments. And so we know that any unexpended dollars for those assessments could potentially be used as well. So I believe what I would do is, after the bids are received on May 15th, I would meet with the facility committee of the board, and we would go through and prioritize which resources we should allocate to make the payments to complete the project. So I probably have, what I have said is we have two different main sources, and we haven't given, we haven't made a final recommendation on which source to use at this point.
Okay. Okay, that helps. Thank you. I also, number 10 in our board packet, in the agreement, it talks, I think it's titled waiver section, and it talks about liability. And since we're entering into this as kind of like this unique combo entity, I'm assuming that when the lawyers looked over this, any liability for injuries or whatever when working on the project, like district employees are covered by district, city employees covered by city, but what about contractors? Is that all covered? I just wondered about our liabilities, how that works.
Sure. Madam Chair and Director Polzine, regarding the waiver of liability and the multiple indemnification between the parties to the joint powers agreement, our attorney did review that. This is standard operating language, and we want to make sure that we cover ourselves, but we also want to make sure that if a third party were to seek some type of remedy from the school district or from the city of Plymouth, that they receive it from the appropriate party. So this is standard language. We did share it with our insurance company, and they concurred that the language was appropriate as written.
Okay, thank you. And then the only other question I had was, how does the permanent easement differ from the temporary easement? They look to be the same on those maps, and I didn't understand what the differentiation was and why we have one permanent and one temporary.
Yep, that's a great question. So a portion of the property will be a sidewalk, and a portion of the property will actually be a curb. So we're actually planning to extend and create a right turn lane. So that portion of the property is actually the district's property, and so we don't have to maintain the curb and gutter in that portion of the property. That's why there's a permanent easement. But the temporary easement is to allow the city to actually handle the coordination of the construction. And so during the construction period and for the period immediately following, in other words, the warranty period and the inspection period where we go through our punch list, that's where we provide a temporary easement. So one is a temporary easement that is intended to provide access for construction to occur. And then the other is a permanent easement so that the city of Plymouth can come in and maintain the sewer, water, and gutter. Great question, thank you.
Okay, that clarifies it a lot. Thank you. Well, again, I echo Sarah's thanks for getting this all pulled together because it is important to have a safe corner up there by the high school. So thank you.
All right, any discussion from Bonita Lucky?
Yes.
All right, I don't have any either, so hearing none, the recommended action is to authorize the Executive Director of Finance and Business to execute a joint powers agreement with the City of Plymouth for making Peony Lane and Schmidt Lake Road intersection improvements. Could the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
Cheryl Posey,
Yes.
Cian Falconer,
Yes.
Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Bonita Lucky, yes. Chris McCullough is absent. Andrea King,
Yes. And the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda, we have Human Resource Services, and we have one item, monthly recommendations. And attached in board book are the recommendations regarding personnel actions, including employment, separations, and leaves of absence. The recommended action is to approve the HR actions as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
Linda Cohen, I so move.
second.
Cian.
Bonita Lucky,
Thank you. All right, wondering if there is any discussion from Linda Cohen,
No.
Cian Falconer,
No.
Sarah Johansson,
Pass.
Cheryl Polzin,
Pass.
Bonita Lucky,
pass.
and Andrea Keen. I have no questions, so hearing none, could the clerk please call the roll?
Yes. Chris McCullough is absent. Bonita Lucky, yes. Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Cian Falconer,
Yes.
Sarah Johansson,
Yes.
and Cheryl Posey,
Yes.
and Andrea King.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. That concludes our special meeting of the Wayzata Public Schools Board of Education for March 23rd, 2020. Could I get a motion to adjourn?
Linda Cohen, I so move.
Bonita
Cian
Lucky,
Falconer, I second.
All right, could the clerk please call the roll?
yes. Sarah Johansson,
Woohoo, yes.
Bonita Lucky, yes. Cheryl Posey,
Yes.
Cian Falconer,
Yes.
Linda Cohen,
Yes.
Chris McCullough is absent. Andrea King.
Yes, the motion carries unanimously. Thanks, everyone. Ashley, could you please stop recording?